everyone, and welcome back to Spirit School. I am so glad to be here with your August Spirit messages. First and foremost, a little bit of an update from the July Spirit messages. Of course, I never listen back to my podcast episodes, and I really don't remember what I say, even by the time it's posted by my assistant and my podcast editor. I never remember what I say, but I will say that I have received at least a dozen messages from people confirming pregnancies. Now, I vaguely do remember pulling the fertility card. So, yeah, that's exciting. Congratulations to everybody out there. And thank you for updating me and letting me know. I always think that's really fun when the messages land and they're accurate for you and they definitely make sense. So, let's just kind of get into it here. So, what I'm feeling like I really wanted to speak about, and I was kind of tuning into this morning when I'm dropping my kids off at school or at camps and dropping my doggie off at doggy daycare and taking her for a walk first, and just throwing the thoughts out to the world of spirit. What would you like me to speak to everyone about this month? And what they were really bringing me was around this energy of people being really hard on themselves about where they're at on their spiritual path. And one of the inspirations that they were giving me as I was tuning into this was around always thinking like we're not doing enough or we're falling behind. And I invite you to look at the cycles of your life. When I look at the cycles of my life and my spiritual path and my development path, summer really is a time of being outside, not tied to the computer. And it is typically a time of being in that moment. And so a lot of us are a little bit busier during summer. Now, I am saying this as we wrap up the initiation, the 6-week container. And I will say that I have experienced, especially with some of my clients that have felt like they really needed a break or a holiday or just some time to connect with family or just focus on being a human for a little bit. Just know that that is part of your natural rhythms and cycles within this human experience. And it's so important to pay attention to them. It's also very important to know that your cycles are going to be very different from anyone else's cycles. And so they're going to be completely unique, much like the women. You guys loved that podcast episode on the Stardust app. That was a lot of fun. So many shares, so many DMs on that. And you'll know through even apps like that, where you track your own womanly cycles, your own menstrual cycles. We all have very, very different cycles. But don't you ever find like you sync up with people that you hang out with more, you work with, or even your sisters or your roommates or whatnot? So do not be surprised if even on the spiritual path, you notice like, oh, everybody's kind of taking a break right now. Everyone's starting to take it easy. And what spirit really wants to bring through as part of this is two parts. It's one, being easy on yourself, being gentle with yourself, allowing yourself to take these times of rest or just being human for a little bit, and that you don't fall behind. You literally cannot fall behind. In my opinion, it is awesome to take a bit of a break, and it is awesome to maybe put the readings on hold or put the classes on hold so that you can integrate everything that you have been experiencing while you've been all in. And I think that on the spiritual development path, we can use a lot more integration, because if we're just going from like class to activity, class to activity, class to activity, there isn't a whole lot of time to integrate all the knowledge that we're learning. And I feel like we're only actually embodying a small percentage of what we're actually learning and experiencing, because we're always on to the next thing. So that is because of our busyness as humans, our desire for more. We're living really in the materialistic realm. We're never satisfied with what we have. We think that once we get what we are hoping for, that everything's going to be fixed and we're going to be content. And then when we get it, we find that we're not. Right. And I was talking to one of my clients yesterday. I said, when it comes to contentment, contentment is a completely an inside job. If you're content from the inside with your own spirit and your own humanness, everything else in the external is just extra. Right. So digress hearing a little bit, but really the message from spirit around this is, if your soul, if your spirit, if your humanness is calling for you to, read a nonfiction or go camping with the family and like miss, and putting in air quotes here, like missing an opportunity for development, there's nothing that you can't pursue later and you never fall behind. I've talked about this before in a previous podcast episode where I shared about the times that I almost gave up mediumship. And then I also had an episode earlier on why I think breaks are good on this path. And I will stand by that anytime I step away from the work a little bit and focus on maybe another area of work that I'm interested in. Or, life happens and I just need to take a little bit of break. Like with Bender dying last year, I had to take quite a bit of a break from readings so that I could, heal my humanness, and I focus more on my teaching and I focus more on my community. And I really needed that break. And when I came back to do readings, it was better than it ever was before. And so I think that we can surprise ourselves when we allow ourselves to pursue varying interests or take a little bit of a break. And I think that it does support us in our development. So I don't think that we can go backwards. I think that that's really, really important message here from Spirit, because I even see it within my own community as we head into August. Like, I'm taking the first 2 weeks of August off. The initiation wraps up on Saturday, July 31st. And then I've scheduled in 2 weeks completely off, a week to myself completely, and then a week camping with the family. So out of, August 1st, we celebrate 1 year as the initiation circle, as a membership together. And that's a big freaking deal. And so these 2 Fridays, the first 2 Fridays of August, will be the first time, other than when Bender died, that I won't be doing a spirit circle on Fridays, because I need to honor my own cycles, my own rhythms. And I know that at the end of the initiation, when I'm holding space for between the circle and between the container, my one-on-one clients, it's about 150 women and one dude. Hi, Felipe. That, I'm holding space for. I know based off of my own cycles that once that container closes, I need to rest and retreat and basically spend some time in solitude. And that is what benefits me to be a strong teacher, a strong reader. I'm really honoring those cycles. So this message from Spirit is very much about you just being gentle with yourself and kind to yourself and really just honoring yourself. Having a sip of tea. So that's something that I really wanted to speak about on behalf of the world of Spirit. And, look at this. If it's summer for you or winter for you, you will see patterns year after year if you're very aware of them and conscious of them. I find it very interesting that this will be the 3rd August in a row that I take a break. And it's funny because for me, August, I'm my most lively, I'm my most energized, my most energetic, but I still feel that call to rest and retreat and focus on me and being really human. Yeah. And it's interesting. You can find cycles within your readings in that way. Same with, in the initiation and the language spirit course on my spiritschool.com, I have a moon tracker. And I'm like, even with the 29 and a half days of the cycle of the moon, and the cycle for us as women, you will actually find different times of the month are a bit clearer for you, maybe a little bit more effortless for you. And then there will be times of the month connection to the moon and to the signs of which the moon falls in that will be maybe a little bit of a time that's a little bit of a struggle for you, or less flowy, or, more like you're snatching information. This is specific here for the readers. And it's really important that you learn to track these things for yourself so that you can again live a very empowered life and a self-empowered life. If you're following someone else's cycle, if you're following like, oh, readings are strongest on the full moon, and then you find that you're not, I can imagine the self-doubt that will come into your experience by thinking that. So it's a really beautiful exercise to track your own cycles, your creative cycles, your sleep cycles, your cycles with the feminine, masculine energy, your cycles with clarity of readings or clarity of development, because we get to see ourselves on levels that we typically would never have before, because we're taught that thinking about ourselves so much is selfish and that we can be perceived as conceited by caring so much about ourselves. And so a lot of us avoid ourselves and we focus so much attention on serving others and making sure everyone else is okay, because of this belief that it's a sacrifice, right? Especially when we talk about moms and mothering. And I feel like it's a beautiful act of self-care to track your cycles and track your own natural rhythms. I was in a advanced mediumship workshop with Mavis Patilla last fall, and she talked about this, and she did use it more as a broad blanket across all mediumship. But she said, between September and April is typically a time where mediums may struggle a little bit more in their readings. It's a time to go inwards. Now, I will say, that's not my experience. I think my cycle is a little bit opposite, right? For me, I think it's kind of like, August to October is kind of like my time where I really focus on teaching and running programs and classes. And then as I head into winter, I run the initiation, and I'm usually doing readings. Readings are very popular in December because it's close to Christmas. People are really feeling and missing their loved ones. And so just to kind of show you, like, even one of the greats, who has their own cycle, they recognize their own cycle as being more powerful during spring and summer. For me, I feel very powerful in the winter as well. And I feel more connected to myself in the winter because it's an inward time for me, right? And again, of course, we're working with people in different hemispheres as well. So it just goes to show that we can't all be vibing at the same time. So overall message, be kind to yourself. Take it easy on yourself. Okay. I'm just going to pull a few cards and see what other inspirations can kind of come through as part of this month. And of course, I feel like I'm always just using John Holland's Psychic Tarot card at this time. It's one of my favorite decks. It's literally like, I don't know, I find it to be very powerful. So when we tune into August, funny, the first card is the 8. It's the Leo card. It's the card of power and self-power. So reminder, and I forgot all about this, that it was Leo season. Of course, we'll head into Virgo season, which is my season. It's my birthday. August 26th is my birthday. But we are in Leo season right now. And I love Leo energy. I don't know anyone who wouldn't love Leo energy. It's powerful. It's about self-empowerment. It's about owning our internal power, our true power, not circumstantial or conditional power, but true power. I also feel very much that some people this month will be finding ways to incorporate financial freedom into their life. I feel very much, and I say this because I'm really drawn to the 8, and 8 is a money around finances with me in a positive way. And so I feel like some people will be looking this month into shifting their finances around so that they can maybe look towards more financial freedom. I know that this has actually come up in my awareness even in this past week, where I'm like, okay, I want to be mortgage free. Like, how on earth can I get to be mortgage free before I'm 45? That's kind of like a personal goal that I have. And so Spirit's kind of bringing to my awareness that we're kind of coming into our empowerment when it comes to our money and our finances, and some big goals I feel will be set, and it can be done. The other message behind this card is really around just feeling that internal power and strength, and just knowing that you are powerful. In mediumship, we have a term called the power, and it is an inner power. It's the power of our soul. It's the power of our light. And if we can walk around feeling that power from within, not much can rock us out there in the real world, not an insult, not a sense of rejection, not this, who am I? Do I belong here? If we can find that internal power that comes radiating out of our soul source, which if I were to use my physical expression, it would be around the heart and the solar plexus area, seat of the soul, then we will have true personal power in this experience. And when we have true personal power in this experience, we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. I shared with a client this week that, I feel like I've really kind of come into my own in 2021. 2021 has been a really hard year for me, like emotionally. It started the year with a really big broken heart, but I also feel like I found my personal power this year. And it took a lot of being triggered. It took a lot of understanding and realizing that it isn't the external compliments and the external kudos and the external validations that come into my world, which I'm very lucky they come through a lot because I have a big podcast now and I'm on social media and I get compliments all day long. And I was very confused on why they didn't make me feel as powerful as they see me. Like I didn't feel it. And so I ended up going into an inquiry early on this year. And I do recommend anyone who feels like they don't really know who they are, or they may only feel powerful if they're being told that they're amazing. I think this will be the case for a lot of people who listen to this. I would simply just go into a meditative state. I would just focus on my breath with one inquiry. Who am I? Who am I? It was so simple. And I won't say anything profound happened at any one sitting, but I sat every day for 20, 30 minutes with a timer on with one inquiry. Who am I? And somehow, some way over the months, it's like something was happening in the undercurrent that I didn't quite place. There's not one profound moment that I could place that shifted this change within me. But it was like months. It was like how Joe Dispenza says in his work, everything compounds, everything matters when we're rewiring our thoughts process and our thought systems. Every little thing matters and it all adds up. And I think that that's true because I sat in this meditation, even if I didn't feel it, even if I just let my mind wander and I didn't have any profound experiences, I sat anyways. And I sat for myself and I sat for my soul, my spirit. And whereas when I sit in the power for the world of spirit, I sit for them. I sit to show them I'm devoted and dedicated. So this is a very different practice. And something happened over months of sitting in my own energy with the one inquiry, who am I, that really helped me find my personal power. I study business under Melanie Ann Layer of the Alpha Femme. And she has a saying that I absolutely love. She's like, you're going to wonder how to do it until you wonder how you did it. There's something that happens in this human experience that, like, even I look at my business, I'm like, I don't know how it got here. Like, it blows my mind what I'm able to do now with clients and how many people actually really want to work with me. I could not have wished this because it's bigger than I would have even have ever imagined. And I get what she says because I'm like, how did this happen? When did this happen? Right? It's a slow progression. So it's very much the same when we're trying to find our personal power. Everybody's walking around looking for that big moment, for that mic to drop. And that's not always going to be the case. It is going to be a slow, persistent, compounding experience. So please sit anyways. Please tell yourself you love yourself. Talk kindly to yourself. Every single one of those thoughts that benefits your internal flame will compound and be a big deal. And I will say I sat for 3 months with that inquiry. And I had a new guide appear to me through that experience. And even yesterday, I was beating myself up for something that I said and just kind of like regretting it. And he gave me a sign because he's here to show me inner peace. And he reminds me that I'm here to experience true eternal peace because I'm worthy of it. And so he gives me a sign where he places his hand on my arm and I get the tingles. It's like a blanket of energy over my left forearm. And so while I was on a walk yesterday with my dog, kind of like being hard on myself for saying one stupid thing, even though nobody probably even acknowledged it. That's how the Virgos think. That's how hard we are on ourselves. I got the sign from him saying, peace. And I had to stop for that moment and say, yes, I am worthy of peace. I'm going to let it go. And I had to let it go. And anytime that thought creeped up again, I'm just like, I'm worthy of peace. And that is something that comes from personal power, right? I'm not going outside of myself for it. And so this is a real time this month of August to maybe devote and dedicate maybe your own practice, whether you want to kind of take what I've done or find your own, and really start to acknowledge that at a soul level, at a true essence of yourself, you are powerful and magnificent. But it's our human self, it's our human brain, it's our experiences and the evidence that our brain tends to recall that can kind of like dim or make us question our power. So do know at the very core of your being, you are powerful. And that's going to be a big thing this month. I also get a relationship card. You guys know what I'm like with relationships. I'm not romantic, but this is a romantic card. And I do feel that my singles out there will likely find someone that they will be interested in. This is a very peaceful spiritual union, and I do want to go to relationships with this. I will say too that within relationships that are currently existing, I feel like there's going to be more efforting in there. I know that, the downfall of a relationship is really around people just giving up. Like, I'm tired. Sorry, you're last on my list, and I need to focus on me right now. But for some reason, I feel that not even at the effort of yourself, though I do encourage you to make an effort, absolutely. But I do feel that there is going to be some peace and a reigniting of maybe passion or connection within the relationship realm for August as well. And again, I want to go to my singles out there who are going to be likely having somebody come into their awareness in a way, like I'm not talking about the swiping apps or anything like that. It's almost like going to a barbecue and like meeting someone. Like, I feel like there's going to be like these surprising and indirect ways that you're going to be having somebody come to your awareness this month. And it feels very harmonious for me. So do look out for that as well. The other card that kind of comes up is an angel card for me. Like, this is an angel card, and just I think this is kind of like reiterating and validating kind of the messages that I was saying earlier on, that it's okay to rest. And resting actually helps you make quantum leaps towards what you're desiring. So don't see rest as being lazy or apathetic or stagnant in any way. Rest can be incredible for your human and spiritual self and well-being. So this is also a meditation card. So if we go back to the power and we go back to finding our internal power and me talking about my meditation experiences this year, this is your sign that you can do this. You can do this. Okay. And then the other thing I just want to say, I want to bring up, this card is very melancholy and very nostalgic, right? So I don't know if you guys have experienced this. As I'm talking about it, I'm like, what am I going to talk about this card? Because I'm not feeling like it's somebody passing or anything like that. But what I am feeling is, Spirit's taking me to this nostalgic feeling. Like, I look up at the sun, not directly at the sun, please don't think I look directly at the sun. But you know how there's like a rainbow around the sun? Now, my husband says in New Zealand, they don't see the rainbow around the sun. I don't know. I can't validate that. I've only been in New Zealand once and I didn't notice. I was so sick. But I remember looking up at the sun, not again directly at the sun, but I remember looking at the sun as a kid and seeing like a rainbow around the sun. And I remember people saying like it was a hole in the ozone layer. And now I look at that hole in the ozone layer, that rainbow around the sun, and it is massive compared to when I was a kid. And I think about that all the time. And it really instills this responsibility that I feel on tending to our planet, like tending to Mother Earth. Like, I remember nostalgically, is that a word? Through nostalgia, thinking about that as a kid, like really, really pondering it. And it kind of takes me back. So this is just kind of like a little bit of an example, because I think about those summers as a kid and I can recall some of those experiences as a kid. And my birthday's in August and it's really the week before school starts again. So it was always kind of a sad time for me. Like, even this morning when I was driving home from dropping off my puppy at puppy school, I looked at the trees and they're already dying because we haven't had any rain here. I live in a rainforest and we usually get a lot of rain. We're known for rain. And I don't think we've had rain in like 100 days. And the trees are all dying. And it looks like October here, like with the leaves turning yellow, and they're going to fall at the next like windstorm that we have. And it brings about that nostalgia. Now, I will say that these two examples are kind of sad, right? Sad nostalgia. And that is what I feel. And that's how come when I picked up this card on, it's number 6 card. So, green border, memories of love. It was sad, like somebody was passing, but it's not somebody passing because Spirit wouldn't give that to me. This was more around the nostalgic thoughts that are coming. But Spirit is making me feel very much to say that sometimes these kind of melancholy, nostalgic thoughts are things that can kind of like activate us and remind us of what we felt was important back then. Because a lot of us lose sight of that. We think what other people think are important is important to us. When really, I think as kids, we kind of had a good sense of what was right and wrong in the world. I think if we go back to like kindergarten, like logistics, and we go back to like kindergarten philosophy, it would still stand very true for us today. Like, share, be kind to one another, How do you think that person made you feel? Like, we go back to those younger years, I think we were much wiser than we give kids today credit for. And so look for these nostalgic thoughts to come your way and look at them from a wider lens of, what did I value when I was that age? Like, what was my core value? And how can I bring that into my life now so that, we can leave this place a little bit better than when we came? And so I feel like that's also going to be a very important message from the world of spirit as well. So hopefully you enjoy these messages. Just wanting to talk about the initiation circle for a moment, because we are celebrating 1 year as a community. And I think I've only mentioned my membership a couple times on the podcast ever. I'm not very good at this kind of stuff, but I'm very excited for the next 2 months. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a rundown of what the initiation circle is. I will be renaming it probably in October. But for now, it's called the Initiation Circle. I'll explain all that later on, but it's a monthly membership for developing light workers, whether you're medium, angel reader, Reiki, tarot, all light workers. I have people practicing Akashic records in there, but it's a safe space for you to practice. My assistant pairs you up with partners every week. If you put your name forward, we have weekly spirit circles where we sit in the power together. I guide you through 30-minute visualization. We have monthly group practice readings where we gather as a group and we practice in small groups doing readings, and I'm able to observe people. We also have guest mentors. In August, we're going to have Luscious Hustle, who I had on the podcast last month, and you guys love them. So they're going to be coming on doing a little bit of business mentorship when it comes to your spiritual practices. We have a chakra shadow workshop hosted by Andrea of Spirit Crumbs podcast. She's going to be hosting that. And then when we go into September, it's going to be much busier. Again, August is a little bit slower. But we have the spirit circles, we have development workshops hosted by me, the group practice readings, a manifestation workshop, another business class on gathering testimonials, and an aura language of color workshop, and a mentorship Q&A call with me. I do allow people within the community to apply to host workshops within the community, and I pick 2 or 3 a month and I pay them so that they can learn to not only teach in front of a very supportive audience, but also learn to be compensated for it and be okay with being compensated for it. So there's a lot of amazing stuff coming up in the next couple months in the initiation circle. For now, it's going to be $97 Canadian. I will be increasing the price later this year because I'm going to be adding a lot more to the community space, and I'm going to be rebranding it a little bit. So whatever you end up signing up with, you are locked into. So even if the price increases, your price will stay the same. And it's just a month-to-month commitment. So you can sign up anytime and you get into the community right away, or you can leave anytime. Just cancel your membership however you want. No big deal for me. We have about 75 amazing women and 1 man. Hello, Felipe again, within this community. And it's a sisterhood. It's also where we heal our sister wounds. And if you've ever loved my teaching style or my talking style, this is really where you get full access to me. My wait list, as you know, is very long for readings, and my mentorship wait list now, I can't even believe how many of you want one-on-one mentorship with me, and I'm not cheap. And you guys really want to work with me. So within the space and community, I'm going to be really focusing my efforts within here so that I can find more ways to serve more of you. And so it's a very self-led experience. There's replays for everything. You also get access to everything we've ever done. So every past guest mentor, guest teacher, every past spirit circle, every past workshop we've ever had, you have access to all of that content as well. And so there's a lot here, and I'm very proud of this community. It's growing very quickly. I think I've had like 8 people sign up just this week, and I'm very proud of it. And it's something that I think is going to be my legacy. These girls are very connected to one another. They collaborate with one another. They interview each other on their podcast. They teach classes with one another. It's a very safe, supportive space. So consider joining it if you have been looking for a community of light workers, or you're interested in safely practicing your abilities and maybe learning some different techniques with different modalities. Everything's welcome here. So I'll leave the link in the bio. If you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram at Squamish Medium. I don't really answer emails anymore. Basically, Instagram is the best way to get hold of me. I do respond to every single DM I receive there. And I'm just sending you guys my love for August. I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a little bit of a slower month for me. You will get a couple weeks without a podcast because I'm really going to be taking 2 weeks off, really off. So you'll hear back from me again the third week of August. So hope you enjoy the spirit messages. I'm appreciative of every single one of you, and we'll see you in a few weeks.